Shudder, Sundays, episode 40. Get your pitchforks ready. Get your best Founders Day outfits ready to head down to the parade. This week we're talking about Clown in a Cornfield.
Yeah, it is really cool. Where'd you get it from?
I'm OG Kettle Springs, baby. I got all kinds of stuff.
Every year, there's this parade where everyone gathers around a Friendo float.
Friendo?
It's the clown on all the Bay Pen corn syrup labels.
There's a psycho dressed up like Friendo, trying to kill us! Call 911!
Where's the button, Jen? What is this? What
What kind of phone is it?
A Clown in the Cornfield is one of the most recent slashers. This is a pretty new release. This just came out May 9th, 2025. This was directed by Eli Craig from Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which, much different movie. I had different expectations going into this because of him. I was expecting a little bit more of a comedic route. I love Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. I think that's a classic. We'll get into Clown in the Cornfield. This was starring Katie Douglas as Quinn, who was in Ginny in Georgia. This is a Netflix TV show. I don't think she was a lead in there, but she was in there. Aaron Abrams as Dr. Glenn Maybrook, who was in the Hannibal TV show. Again, not the lead, but was a part of it. Carson McCormick as Cole, who played a role in Shazam and the sequel. I don't know what role. One of the kids, or maybe one of the main kid's friends. I know it wasn't the main Shazam kid, so. And then we have Kevin Durand as Arthur Hill, who was probably the most notable of actors, although he does give off a resemblance to Elon Musk. I couldn't shake the image out of my mind. But
as soon as you said that, I was like, I could see it.
It's Elon. But he was in Kingdom of Planet of the Apes, the new Naked Gun that just came out with Liam Neeson. X-Men Origins Wolverine as well as a bunch of others, but he definitely had the most decorated IMDb. And then, not that he was a main character, but I figured I wanted to point him out just because I nailed this right off first watch.
You did.
Will Sasso as Sheriff Dunn, who was Senor Kaplan in Modern Family. He was actually in a lot of stuff.
Rival.
So I did go in the IMDb rabbit hole on him, and he does play a character in a movie that I immediately was like, recognized him as, and I had no idea this was also him. Happy Gilmore.
Really?
He was, I don't know how often you've seen that, but do you remember the two...
It's been a while.
The two movers that was moving all the stuff out of Grandma's house in the beginning that
I wouldn't remember something like that.
well, it was a pretty big role because they were the ones, they were out in the front lawn. This is Happy Gilmore podcast now, but he was in the front lawn and they were playing golf, like messing around with his grandfather's clubs.
Okay.
And he's like, why don't you guys get back to work? He's like, I'd like to see you hit it further than me. I didn't know that was him.
That's funny.
Not that he's like a big actor, but I just wouldn't. He's a bigger bald guy.
It's funny seeing side characters in different roles.
Yeah, and that must have been one of his earliest things. So before we dive into our categories, why don't you give us a short little synopsis of Clown in a Cornfield?
All right. After Quinn and her father moved to quiet Kettle Springs, they discover that a beloved factory in their community was burned to the ground, and a maniacal clown named Friendo has been wreaking havoc on the townsfolk ever since.
Friendo is no friendo to you. Shudder skull rating. Do you remember what this was on the old Shudder skulls?
If I recall correctly, I think this was 4 skulls.
This was
from Shudder.
4 out of 5
right.
skulls for Shudder. Now Rotten Tomatoes, kind of in that ballpark as well. So Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think the critics gave?
I would say maybe a 78.
73%.
Okay.
So not far off. That 4 out of 5 is kind
pretty
of
good,
that 70. Yeah, it's in that range. Audience score, a little bit different, but not too different.
I'm going to go lower. I'm going to say a 67.
57.
Okay. Well.
So you had the 7 right. So we're not too far off there. So let's dive in. I didn't get much little facts about this. Obviously, it's a smaller-ish. The only things I did know...
It's more like an indie horror.
Yeah, I did know that this was based off of a novel from 2020.
Yep.
And we'll get to the ending, but just so you know, there are 3 books in this series. There are more Clown in Cornfield novels, which can only lead me down the road of there will be more Friendos to come.
I think I was aware of that. I'm not much of an avid reader myself. I used to be. I really should pick it back up again, but I have not read.
I believe the second one is called Friendo Returns, And I think the third one is called The Church of Friendo.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know what route they go, but with the ending we have, it does leave it open. So let's get into the good. What did you have for the good of Clown in a Cornfield?
I thought this was a pretty fresh storyline. I liked it. I thought it was a little different, kind of similar to what we've seen before. I mean, kind of that backwoodsy kind of horror and small town horror, but I thought it was fun that the way they utilized Friendo. I really liked the factory burned down, and this was the factory's mascot, and he became such a big part of like Founders Day, and he was like the icon of the town, and now he's coming back for revenge because they burned down the factory. And
I had the exact opposite
Really?
thoughts on all of that. I thought it was...
What did you think it was similar to then?
Thanksgiving was pretty similar there.
I did have it was similar to Thanksgiving.
It is essentially... Is this R-rated?
I'm not sure. I didn't check the rating.
Well, if it is R-rated, it's essentially an R-rated Scooby-Doo. He burnt down the building to claim the insurance money, and I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's Scooby-Doo.
The ending, for me, was extremely Scooby-Doo-y, where it was like the main villain unmasks, and then he unveils the entire plot of his wrongdoings and the evils, and has this old monologue of like, I'm gonna get you while you're all tied up, leaving them just enough time to escape and capture him.
I'm not standing up for this movie, or by any means, or really, really gung-ho, but you could say Scream is fucking Scooby-Doo, too.
It is, and that was one of my other notes. The ending is but Scream, when it came out, it was really a trailblazer in that sense. Now, I will give you every other sequel after that. It follows the exact same formula at the end, where it's like, I'm spending 10 minutes explaining to you why I did what I did, and I'm giving you just enough time to find that crack to reach the gun or grab the knife and wiggle your way out of the situation. That was my note, where Scream, I love the Scream series, but I will say that they nailed the formula in Scream 1, and then absolutely milked it. Like, relentlessly, shamelessly, I get it. This movie was very reminiscent of Scream to me as well in that sense, where it was like trying to do a whodunit, but the way they did it, it was kind of obvious to figure out who done it before they did the, ultimate mask reveal. So you can see your point is valid. It is Scream-esque, but again, that goes into my point of I've seen this movie before. But you can have it as a good. That's fine.
I mean, it's just so tough to vouch. I mean, so many horror movies are picked up and have so many other different tropes compared to...
Yep.
You could always compare them to other ones.
It's tricky to make a truly original horror movie.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it.
I don't think this did that, and that doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
It is a very hard thing to do something truly authentic, and if you saw it that way, that's fine.
I would like to read the book, though, to see if
I'm curious what it's like.
How different it is, and how much they made it to maybe switch it around to make it more movie likable, I guess.
So what else did you have for your good? Because I kind of blended in. I blended some of my bad. I'll touch that up in the back end.
So, I really liked the Jack-in-the-Box aspect, like the Friendo Jack-in-the-Box aspect. Whenever someone would find the Jack-in-the-Box, it would pop up out of nowhere. And whenever you would turn the handle, it would pop out, and that's when Friendo would pop out and come and kill someone. I thought that was fun.
That is a cool thing. And then as I was doing my notes, I started thinking, I was like, so when that was happening, it kind of gave me almost a supernatural aspect.
Yes.
And then when you come to find out at the end who the Friendo is, it was like, wait, so were they just planting these in like, I'm going to wait till they open it and then I'm going to get them.
Right, I was going to say, were they just ironically there every single time?
Because it did switch up on me. I was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, maybe this is some undead clown that's the original Friendo from the origin of the company and the Founders Day. That's kind of cool. And then when the reveal came, I did have to circle back and I was like, wait. So Homeboy was just like waiting for them to not look. Run out, put the little Jack-in-the-Box right here, and I'm gonna hide again until and then when it pops, I'm gonna get you. But I did like it. It was a fun like prompt essentially to like, okay, something's happening.
Premonition.
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. So what else did you have for the good?
I liked Frendo's look. I thought it was cool. I think it was kind of like a just cheesy, kind of like
Bozo.
Bozo. Yes, I couldn't think of what it really reminded of, but I feel like it was more of like a. It didn't need to be. I feel like sometimes clowns in horror films, or Pennywise, for example, which I do love, very over the top to make them look extra scary.
So you're talking new Pennywise with the
Yes,
horror
yes.
aspect. Okay,
Yeah,
yep.
To make it look extra scary. I feel like this was just a cheapy little Halloween store mask that they used for Friendo, and it still got the point across without having to use too much extra.
Okay.
And I really liked, it was just more realistic, I guess, because you don't hear it a lot, I guess, but when he walks around in his clown shoes squeaking.
Yeah, that was a fun little
Yeah.
sound effect.
What were some of your good? Because apparently you've been against everything I've said so far, so.
I was also against that last one. I'll get to it. I thought the kills looked good.
Yeah.
There was a really cool, this girl ate a pitchfork through the stomach and then got like electrocuted because she got smashed up into the light in the ceiling.
Yeah, that was pretty
That was really
crazy.
cool. Just the kid getting shot in the face with an arrow. I thought it looked really well. The bench press saw kill.
That was fun.
Pretty cool. This character was kind of working out and Friendo popped out, but put a little saw and held it with the bar and pushed it down, decapitated the head, and popped it right into the trash bin. So the kills were...
Into the cooler.
Oh, the cooler, that's what it was, the
Which was
cooler.
funny.
Because he was chugging beers and getting ripped.
Yeah, in between his sesh.
In between reps. But no, I thought all the kills did look very good.
I had that as well.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a rural setting, small town.
You do love that rural setting.
Maybe it's just because I'm kind of from a small town. Like,
Yeah.
it does hit home. And I think it plays different than, like, in a city. You know, you have a limited cast and you have limited population there. Everybody kind of knows everybody. It's very Stepford Wives too. It's like, you know, this stuff can spread through the town and there's mystery there and everybody knows your business. It's a fun little thing.
Yeah.
And I did think that this movie was shot extremely well. Shot well. Acting was pretty good.
I didn't think that. I'm
didn't
surprised you said
stand
that
out as
because
bad.
I also had that. I thought the acting was pretty fun, good comic relief, which normally I don't like when there's too much comedy in horror, but I feel like just about every horror movie that comes out nowadays has got some bit of comedy in it,
Yeah.
so I guess I just gotta accept it. So I did think there were some pretty funny parts in here.
There was a little like gay romance
Yeah.
like slipped in there as like it's kind of it was almost like this thruple style situation.
Yeah.
Because it made you in the very beginning think that one of the characters was into Quinn. And then even before that, Russ.
Oh, right, yes.
Because he
yes.
was like awkward
when
and
he
like
came to the door, he was like, "Oh, I'm your neighbor." Da, da, da.
Yeah, and it kind of gave off that like awkward, oh, there's a cute girl next door. I don't know what to say because I'm kind of the weirdo. And then she gets with Cole, and there's that kind of like back and forth where they're kind of talking, they're not. And then they kind of swerve you at the end. You're like, oh, they're actually not friends because this kid was...
They liked each other.
They liked each other, but, you know, one's the cool jock, so didn't want to look, you know, like that to the small town rural farm community.
I was just going to say, same thing you brought up, that small town aspect again,
Which-
too. And his dad's like, what, the mayor, I think?
Yeah,
Cole's dad
yeah.
is pretty much, yeah.
Which, again, this whole... I can't remember where I've seen this, but this was in something else where it was small town gay romance where they didn't...
Now you're...
I'm not stretching.
Now
This
you're
was in
reaching.
something that I saw. I will think on it while we run through everything. So the bad. Did you have any more good?
I did. I kind of touched on it for in the storyline when I was mentioning it, but the Founders Day aspect, it did remind me of Thanksgiving a little bit, but I thought it was fun. I liked it. It kind of
Such
it's
a
funny
ridiculous
because
little fake holiday.
It kind of reminded me of It's a Wonderful Knife as well.
Yeah,
With
very
Justin
small
Long
towny,
as
celebrating weird holidays.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about holidays, I guess, in movies that I really enjoy, but I thought that was a fun little aspect too.
All right, well then let's get into the bad then. What did you have for the bad of Clown in a Cornfield?
Quinn was a pretty unlikable character. She was really mean to her dad, and he was trying really hard, and I felt really bad for him.
She's a bitch. I didn't like her at all.
She was pretty mean to him, yeah.
It's hard to get behind
She was
her.
kind of a bitch, yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't like to say bitch.
Yeah, I had the same stuff too because she's irresponsible. I get it, and I don't know if this was meant to play into the whole generational versus generation thing because that is a
Possibly.
tone of the story. But the one fight in particular that made me like not on her side at all. We've obviously find out that her father is recently widowed. And they agree, both as kind of a family, to move to this small town so he can start over and kind of escape that trauma a little bit. He was an ER doctor. Now he's moving to small family medicine. He just needed the shift in change, career, location, whatever, to kind of sort through his issues. That was all agreed upon, apparently, before the move. And then they have this kind of little blowout, and she's like, well, you didn't even ask if I wanted to move. He's like, yes, I did.
I did.
You said if it would help me, you would do it. And she's like, yeah, but you didn't think if it would help me. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
You can't agree to something and then go back on it once you've done it and you don't like it.
And at that
Not
point,
fair.
it's tough to say. It's like, you're 16 or 17, it's your parent. Like,
If he
what
says
are you
we're moving,
gonna do?
you're
If he
moving.
says you gotta move. Exactly.
So yeah, I agree with you on the whole Quinn stuff. It just every decision she made, again, it's just, maybe I'm getting old, but the teenager like decisions of like, you're she immediately got detention, so she got grounded. What does she do that next night? She sneaks out while dad's sleeping.
Yep.
What happens when she sneaks out? She gets arrested.
Yeah.
And then, oh, well, he goes to pick her up from jail. He was actually going to get her a new car. And she blew that. It just,
Yeah.
you feel so bad for the guy because
You
he's
do.
doing his best and she's doing
And even
everything
so,
wrong.
he's like, I'm really trying here. And I was like, man, this poor guy.
Yeah. So I guess you have to have some friction, but it went for me, like I think for you, a little bit past that point where I can get behind her as a character.
Yeah.
So I agree on that. See, there we go. We agree.
There's something.
We agree. What else did you have for the bad?
It was a little predictable. I feel like you kind of called it early on in the movie. I know we both kind of, when we're watching these movies for Shudder Sundays together, we like to not dive too much into it together because we'll go over it here, but just a little side comments. You're like, I think I know who it is already. And I was thinking to myself, and I was like, you know what? I might have an idea too. And lo and behold, you were actually correct, Nick.
Yep.
So I would say it was a little bit predictable in that aspect, but it didn't kind of pan out the way that I thought, and I didn't really like the angle that they took with it. We preface these episodes by saying that we talk spoilers, so a little bit of a spoiler here. If you don't want to watch it, you could fast forward. But the plethora of friendos was quite unfortunate, and I feel like that kind of ruined it for me right there. Not that it ruined it for me, because this was still a really fun watch, and I did enjoy it, but I feel like it would have been more enjoyable for me if it was a one-off stagnant character, or kind of how you were saying too when I was talking about the Jack-in-the-Box aspect, if there was kind of maybe that supernatural like aspect there too.
Which is common in slashers.
Yes.
Yeah. A couple of the bads that I had, going off of one of your final goods, I thought the Friendo clown was just, like, it was very generic
You
for
thought
me.
it was, okay, I was just going to say you thought it was a little boring. That's
Yeah,
fair.
it's just kind of, we've seen that clown a million times. The red nose, the white paint, big shoes, like, it didn't, again, kind of like the topic of whodunit style slashers. This movie was perfectly in the middle. It was very safe. It didn't take many chances. And I think at some point you have to take a chance to differentiate yourself. And I don't think this did, and I don't think it did with the clown itself. I think Friendo was a dumb name, too. Friendo.
I like Friendo. I think it's funny.
I hated the look of Cole's dad at the end. It was very Joker-ish. So you mentioned it. Friendo was not a Friendo. It was Friendos, and it was all the old people in the town, which as soon as you saw multiples, I was like, okay, well, it's the whole community.
It's all of them.
We've seen, again, something we've seen before. Hot Fuzz. The exact same storyline. The old generation not wanting the new generation to be around. It was a council of old people.
I've never seen Hot Fuzz, and I would assume that's a comedy, not a horror movie.
It's a comedy action, but it's still the exact same, where the community of elders is deciding what happened. It's for the greater good of the community, and they're out murdering people because they were not hurting or whatever. Off topic again, but it's just the look of Cole's dad when all the Friendos are sort of revealed. He's not a Friendo clown wearing guy. He's clearly the leader, but it looks like the Joker, but the cheap 70s Joker from Batman. It's just not great. And I talked about it when you talked about your good, so I don't need to say the whole thing, but the whole ending dump was just Scooby-Doo for me. That's all I could picture.
I did have a negative about it. I feel like the ending did kind of drag on a little bit for me, though. I feel like that whole barn scene where excuse me, her dad is on the way to rescue her, and they have her tied up, and they keep zapping her with the cattle prod, and just really, really egging it on, and they got Cole hanging from, like, the top of the fucking rafters with his, like, feet hanging above the car, just enough so he doesn't hang himself, and it's just, like, that scene went on for, like, pretty much
It was a while.
15 minutes. It was pretty dragged out.
Yeah. All right. So, any more bad?
I think that covers it from
That's
my
good.
end.
All right. So, let's get into your top moment. So, what was a top moment for Clown in a Cornfield?
Even though I didn't really like this aspect, it was a really cool scene when all the friendos do come out of the cornfield at once, when Quinn and her friends are running out of the barn after they realized one of the girls, I think her name was Ginger, came out and they thought she was playing dead, and it was part of the prank that their friends were pulling, but she was actually dead, and then all the friendos come out.
Because that's also a point of the movie we never even touched on yet, is the whole friend group essentially does these YouTube videos of evil friendos killing people. They're just fun little videos. They put them online, and that's why the elder community doesn't like these young kids.
Yeah.
Summed up pretty quickly. But for my top moment, it was such a small moment, and it was pretty inconsequential, but it was when they shoved the cattle prod in the sheriff's mouth
That was
and
good.
zapped him. I thought the lighting looked really cool.
It did look cool.
And it's kind of an inconsequential moment in the film. It's not like a big turning point of things.
Right.
But I thought the visual of it looked really cool.
No, I agree.
What would you change about Clown in a Cornfield?
I would just use one villain, just use one friendo. Think it still could have conveyed the same message, pretty much. I thought it was just going to be the sheriff the whole time before I knew that it was going to be all of them, the whole townsfolk. I would have liked to see, they made such a big deal about it, and Cole's dad, the leader of this friendo cult, kind of gets into it in a little bit of detail when he talks about that this has been going on for years in our town, and we've been doing this, this, and this, and this is how we bring in the out with the old and the something like that along those lines. You know what I'm trying to say. But I kind of wish they touched more on that, of how the town of Kettle Springs was before the factory burned down and all that kind of stuff, and if that was really the turning point of all these people in the town to kind of go crazy and start killing everyone, or if it was just part of the bigger plan altogether, like he was talking about.
I think they just didn't like the kids.
I was going to say again.
You kids and your snap face.
Yeah.
Yep. I pretty much had your first point. I think there is a handful of things you could change. Each one would put this movie in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah.
But the one I landed on was less friendos, so it's not so obvious that it's the entire community.
Right.
Leave it still as a kind of a guessing game if that's if you want this like whodunit slasher kind of thing. I would say if it had to be more than one friendo, I said no more than 3. Max of 3 friendos.
All right, that's fair.
So I'd prefer 1 or 2. But if you do really want to dive into a community aspect, 3 is my limit.
Yeah.
With 1 being a leader and 2 sort of henchmen. So who is this for? Who would you suggest watch Clown in a Cornfield?
I think this could be for anyone who likes horror movies based off novels, if you're into clown movies, or slashers,
Or corn.
or corn, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's overall a really easy watch. It wasn't too long, I don't think. Like I said, the ending kind of dragged on a little bit, but yeah, I don't want to say you're average horror lover, because that sounds kind of mean, but not in a mean way. I feel like this is a very...
I said if you're just a straight up slasher fan.
Yeah.
It's just a middle of the road whodunit. Now to our fear and beer rating. Fear, obviously a scale of 1 through 5 of how scary this film was, and a beer rating of 1 through 5 of how much you enjoyed this film. What do you give Clown in a Cornfield for your fear rating?
For my fear rating, I gave Clown in a Cornfield 2 fears.
Okay. I was going to give it 2.5.
Okay.
I thought it was perfectly, like I said, kind of middle of the road. There was some decent tension in there. I think some of the fear factor got a little deflated when you did realize there was a swarm of friendos, because you do kind of always think like, oh, maybe there's just one like lurking in the corner, and now you're just like, well, there's a million of them, so I just assume they're at every step of the way. So it kind of it takes that element.
That
of
is
surprise
kind of
out
what
of
took
it.
that little halfer off of it for me.
Yeah. So your beer rating, how much did you enjoy Clown in a Cornfield?
My beer rating, I gave this a 3.
I give it a 2. It's just a little bit below my fear rating. I think because of the aspect of I've seen this before. If we didn't have Thanksgiving and Heart Eyes and stuff so recently where it was like, all right, they did it better. Like they just did. Those two, I do enjoy watching them. It's not I'm not going to completely dock it because it's something similar, but just for example, those two, Thanksgiving and Hard Eyes, it's essentially Scream as well. But it was also done pretty well. I think this could have been that if it was just elevated a little bit more. But that's what we got. That sums up our Shudder Sundays for the month of August. We will be back at some point in September. Obviously, with HHN looming, our schedules are going to get crazy. And we are looking into shifting Shudder Sundays a little bit, kind of switching it up a little bit. We're trying to figure out a nice new vibe for it. So we might take a little extra time off just so I can kind of work behind the scenes on crafting the new and improved Shudder Sundays. But until then, we'll see you next time.